Hello. Today we are going to talk about interior design. This might be a new topic for you, especially coming from architecture background. So we are going to try to understand a little bit the linkage between the interior design and the architecture world because they are very connected. And we'll see some of the definitions and main concepts underlying the interior design. Here in this first picture, this is a house done by Charles and Ray Eames in USA, like in the 50s. And I think it's a good example of a good architecture and interior design project. So if you want, you can Google it and try to know a little bit more about it. So interior design, we have here a quote from Steve Jobs. Design is not just what it looks like, design it's how it works. And for anyone who knows architecture world, you know that this is exactly what we defend. We cannot just think about the design to be an aesthetical thing. It needs to be practical and functional for the users. That's why we concentrate ourselves so much in the user's behavior. Um, Interior design is to achieve a good, comfortable environment for people to live and work and play. And it has as the main, let's say, underlying reason to enhance the quality of life of all the users, but at the same time as being an appealing thing. Maybe you never thought about this, but architecture, it's mainly related to the, let's say, to the building and creation of buildings. And sometimes, especially here in Bahrain, the interior of the buildings are left to the interior designers to think about it and create new spaces. If you think about this, indoor spaces, we spend almost 90% of our time in the indoor and only 10% outdoor. So that means that it's extremely important to create comfortable and indoor environments that are useful and functional and pleasant for people to use, because this is where we spend most of our time. To make the link between architecture and interior design, we already know that there are many things that are common to both disciplines, and the planning of the design stage is one of them. There are three main steps in planning. The first one is selecting the space, the second one, analyzing and evaluating the space, and the third one, planning the space. Selecting the space normally is something that it's related to your client. You can advise him, depending on the program that he wants to conduct, which one is the best site or shop for him to proceed with his intentions. But then the second two stages are the ones that we are, let's say, more in control. So we analyze and evaluate the space, and this could be done through site analysis, for surveys, through programming. And then the third one, it's the planning of the space. This is when we actually enter in the design stage and think about, the concepts that are going to support our project. In selecting the space, the selection of space could be like the selection of the site or the shop, like I said, but could go more into details and be selection of the components inside a particular space. So if this is regarding the second part, then you would look at things like the window orientation in relation to light, because it will vary also depending on the time of the day, and also the frame from the window. What type of view can you see from that specific angle? Is it like leading to an obstructed view, or it's something appealing that you should enhance? The another thing that it's related to the selection of space is also the quality of the plan layout, and this is specifically true if we think about interior design. If you are doing a project in a pre-existing site or a pre-existing, sorry, building, it's important to understand all the constraints that you have in that plan layout, especially things like the structures, pre-existing structures, location of service areas, noisy rooms, so you can then plan accordingly with the, let's say, the bigger spectrum. Then we pass to the possible noise problems. This could be something like coming from an elevator, or also like the street outside, like the noise. Is it like facing a highway? Is it like a heavy traffic street? Is it just like a pedestrian road? Also, is there like any kind of airport nearby that it's interfering with the type of program that you need, that you are intend to use in that specific location? Lastly, one of the things that you can also look at is that elements that can or should be changed. So you can think about things that are advantages and then disadvantages in your space. So a kind of a list, a checklist of things that you can leave, or you can enhance, or you should get rid of. So in the second part, that is the part that we start to analyze and evaluate the space, there are several things that we should take in consideration. So we should look at how we enter, how we move in the space, how we arrive at a specific location, how do we utilize the spaces, how the circulation fulfills the requirements of the project, how can we, the amount of daylight that it's brought into the spaces, and also the views that we are conveying to the users. Also try to see the dead end locations and try to avoid them. Acoustical issues like we saw in the beginning, and of course safety and security issues that are always present. When we are doing this type of analysis and evaluate the space, this could be now focusing in the interior design stage and in pre-existing buildings, like in a refurbishment state. One of the things that you should look at is the existing spaces and the things that could be removed without affecting the structure, or even in this case like pipes coming from bathrooms or kitchens. So let's say the fixed elements that you cannot get rid of, or that you shouldn't even move, and then the ones that are flexible enough to provide a different type of layout. Then finally you'll reach to the stage where you plan the space. And this you'll conduct several steps like research, programming, area assignment, block diagramming, adjacent studies, and then finally designing the space. And again, we have another quote from another architect and designer that it's kind of linking to the first one that we saw. Recognizing the need is the primary condition for the design. So again, it's focusing that it's not just the aesthetical part that it's important in designing something, but mainly it's the need, the utility of what we are drawing. If we go like to each one of those points, we'll see that in this first phase of the third stage, it comes the research. The research is when you get to know your client, when you understand the scope of the project, when you have the schedule, the budget, when you know the specialized people that you need to meet or hire, when you also agree in a type of relationship between the client and yourself or your team, and you also schedule your design work, and there's also the time for the selection of spaces. In the next part, programming, this is what when we analyze the needs and the goals and the objectives of the project. So we can do a survey of spaces, we can do interviews, we can collect data on requirements, develop preliminary programs, review the program with client for several stages depending on how much they are satisfied with it, prepare a final program, and then of course obtain the approval. And after that, then you, let's say, study, you will develop the space allocation and then prepare the allocated studies. There's also another important thing that after that you need to also like allocate the area for each component. You should understand the area that it takes each component, and then you can go beyond that and try to combine the area with a kind of a block diagram. You can even try to use something like a modular unit or a modular system to make it easier to relate, let's say, the proportions of the shapes with the area that they require. Another thing that we don't really use this in an independent way. Like these three things about programming and the components, areas, and also the bubble diagrams that we are going to talk right now, they are all combined because they are all part of the same thing. So there are like some couple of examples here of different types of diagrams that you can explore. Most of the times they are like mind maps for our reflection about how the locations of spaces should be, and mainly the relationships between them, if they are strong or if they are weak, and how they are connected. This is some more examples of diagrams and how could be connected. Also another one that it's using the matrix, where you can find the relationship with important, non-important, like the, let's say, the label for it. It really depends on your program, and it's very flexible and you can adapt to any kind of project. When you reach to the design development, then of course we are focusing into the graphical representation of the final design work, and this will include conceptual diagrams, but then also all the plans and all the furniture, all the equipment when in it, elevation sections, ceiling plans, 3D drawings, colors, materials, finished samples, scale models and mock-ups, and multimedia presentations for clients and also then for users. Um, Planning the space, it's very important for both for interior design and for architects. And one of the things that we need to understand is that we should communicate our projects the best way that we can. So graphically, we need to be very simple and very effective in communicating our main idea of our design. What is our concept? What are our choices for materials, details? Especially here, you'll see that in both sides you have sections with small details of colors and materials, and then in the middle you have one thing that it's called in interior design a design board. Architects don't really use these boards, and this is something that you need to use when you are doing the interior design project. It will also help you to understand what is the, let's say, the main spine of your project in terms of textures, colors, and materials. That is completely crucial in an interior design project. So, what is a design board? A design board could be a physical board or could be a digital one. If you go to Pinterest, you can find lots of, and you write just design board, you'll see lots of different examples, and you are encouraged, if you want, to do a physical one or even a digital one and to submit it along with your posters for your midterm and prior and final presentation. This shows the arrangement of images, materials, textures, fonts, colors that it's underlying your concept. And this is a very good way to organize your thoughts and ideas, and it's very, very useful to communicate with your clients. So any like interior design studio, when they are going to show the project or the concept to the client, they have to have a digital or a physical design board so they can convey the message to the client. There are some more examples of boards that could be you could be very creative in this. You can even have, like you see here, flowers, vegetation, some pictures of some inspiring. It's like a kind of a mood board that you can create that it will explain better your idea. Of course, there are furniture layout. It's extremely important for us. Many times you'll have just what we call like an open plan. So you'll have a space that you need to kind of fill with furniture, with lamps, patterns, lights, and you'll have to find decisions for different arrangements. And you can even provide a variety of different examples for your clients or the users so they can select, or they can have several where they can swap after a while. Many times you'll find that users don't really like a fixed, let's say, solution. They like to once in a while to change things, so it's better to provide them something that has a little bit of flexibility within the space. Um, the last images that I want to leave is hand sketches. I don't think I can express how much important it is for you to use Sketch. You can do it by hand, or you can even use like a digital app to do it. Now it's very common nowadays. I don't mind with both. I think it's important that you show how we are going to inhabit and how are you going to feel inside the space. This is the most important thing, is to understand how will I feel there, what type of mood, and which feelings are you encouraging your users to have. So there are some more pictures, and you see that there are different types of sketches that you can provide, from sections to perspectives. They don't need to be entirely colored. There are different techniques that you can explore. And I will just leave some pictures from interior spaces. Very simple and very different from each other. I hope you can find inspiration for your projects. I see that many students are already sending emails with their conceptual approach and some ideas to inspire their designs. So I hope that with this first presentation lecture, you feel the inspiration to go and try to find your own goal for your design project. Thank you so much.